Good morning and welcome to Coffee and the Word. So, I just finished yet another workout. I am extremely tired from doing that. I didn't want to get up this morning again, and it's interesting. I think sometimes you have to do what you don't want to do so you can get what you want. Does that make sense? And to achieve the goals that you have ahead of you, there will be many opportunities for you to want to quit and maybe even decide to quit. But if you choose to press on, you will eventually reach the goal. And so last week we talked about resolutions, and I just want to encourage you guys to stay in the Word, continue to pray, focus on fellowship, and spend some time resting. Tomorrow's actually rest day for me. So I'm excited about that. Coffee and the Word will probably be a little bit later tomorrow, but I will upload something when I get around a computer again. I'm going to take care of some stuff in the morning. But anyway, today I titled today's Coffee and the Word, God Overcomes Even Evil Men. And I'm not sure if that's how I titled it, but the point is God isn't hindered by the circumstances of our world. In fact, for God to say in Romans 8:28 that he works all things together for the good of those who love him, it means he has a level of control that maybe we don't understand. And I think a lot of us have considered how God is in control. Does God move men to do things? And it's interesting because we find in the story of Joseph that we talked about that God caused the people who were in charge of feeding him to have favor towards him. He caused the cupbearer to have favor with him. And so God is not hindered by evil men. And there are times when God will move things in such a way that we don't understand, but God is doing a mighty work. And so I want to launch from there and go into the story of Moses. If you remember yesterday, we talked about the Israelites are oppressed, and they are persecuted, and they are discouraged, and they're crying out to God. And Pharaoh, the king at the time, is not having any of these Jewish people succeeding. And so he's killing all of the male babies. And you have to understand something. To kill the male babies, one of the reasons he's killing the males is because those are fighting men, right? He doesn't want some hero to arise. And so this is an impossible situation for God, who is hearing the cries of the people. He's going to raise up somebody through birth. He's going to bring up this new guy named Moses. And so Moses is born in Exodus chapter 22. And I want you to listen to what happens in this story. When he saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. And this is talking about Moses. She hid him for 3 months, but when she couldn't hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. She placed the child in it, put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. And so, real quick, I want to show you something. That there is this danger of us believing that taking necessary steps or precautions is somehow faithless. Hiding Moses would have been faithless. And I want to challenge you. That's not biblical. It's not true. I think that God has given us an opportunity. He's given us the ability to process thought. He's given us, inside of us, there's this fear mechanism that pops up that is reasonable. It's that racing heart when you hear the rattles of a rattlesnake or the roar of a lion. Like there's that thing that's going on in you is a natural part of your life, and there are times when God calls you to stand in the face of that fear, and then there are times when God tells you to do what is necessary to avoid that. But that's just a side note. That one's free. I'm not going to charge you for that one today. But I want you to notice what happens is Moses' mom takes and she hides him for a while, and then she puts him in this basket, and she puts him out on the Nile so that he can be hidden in the reeds. But listen, Pharaoh wants this child dead. Okay? And that Pharaoh is sending guys around looking for children. Listen to who God uses to protect Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she said. So I want you to, if you're watching this movie, it's like, uh-oh. There's that tense, and the music would come up right now, and what's going to happen next is this baby that God is obviously about to use going to be, what's going to happen? Is she going to go tell her dad? Is she going to turn him in? Is she going to kill him herself? Like, what's going to happen next? Listen to what happens next. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" "Yes, go," she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you." So the woman took the baby and nursed him. And when the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, "I drew him out of the water." And so I want you to catch the beauty of this story and what God is doing in this story. God is planning to use Moses in a mighty way. And there's a couple of lessons we can learn from this. Number one, the Israelite oppression is in full force, right? Moses is a baby, but he's the deliverer. And so they're still going to have to wait. Sometimes in our distress and in our mess, we're going to have to wait. We have a tendency to think God's not moving because he doesn't move at our speed. We have a tendency to believe God isn't doing because we don't see the fruits of his labor. God is doing things in places you can't see, accomplishing things you can't imagine, preparing things you've never even thought of. And so it is time in this moment for us to do our due diligence and rest and wait and hope in the Lord. And so Moses is, again, he's in this basket, and Pharaoh's daughter is like nursing, and then I make him a son. And so God puts Moses in Pharaoh's house. Pharaoh, who wanted to kill all baby children, is now raising one of the children he wanted to kill. God's working things out in ways you can't imagine. And I know that sometimes we get discouraged. I know that sometimes we begin to believe when we look at the circumstances of the reality. And I know there are genuine Christians who have been extremely nervous about who has been in charge of this country. And there are Christians who are extremely nervous about who's about to be in charge of this country. And we're like, what's God doing? Why is God punishing him? You don't know what God is doing. But I do know this. God can't promise that he's working it out. God can't promise that he hears our cries. God can't promise that he can give us peace and joy and all of these things unless God is working things out. And evil men will not prevent God from fulfilling his right purpose. Evil men will not prevent God from delivering us from whatever it is that is oppressing us. And so, stay the course. Here's my encouragement to you. Stay the course. Keep the faith. Stand in the gap. Do what it is that you're called to do. Prepare the way so that when the Lord's deliverance comes, we're ready to leave our Egypt and walk into our promised land. I hope this helps, especially in the midst of all that was going on. I hope that you'll rest easy knowing that God's got you and God's got this. Relax, guys. It's not as bad as you think, and God's doing something greater than you can imagine. This has been another edition of Coffee and the Word. God bless.